Nebraska has a size advantage, the athleticism advantage, the talent advantage, the coaching experience advantage. So why am I just a little bit to a lot of bit nervous about this game? Let's chat, let's discuss the keys, and I'll give you my prediction at the end. Welcome to the Carriker Chronicles, the People Show. Checking the pulse of Husker Nation, brought to you by DPS Concrete Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Also, carrikerchronicles.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it's where all your Husker sports hopes and dreams will come true. It's just science. But if at least 51% of you, if at least 51% of yourself believes that Nebraska will beat Maryland this weekend, then smash that like button. And also, if you haven't done so yet, as always, make sure you subscribe and or ring that notification bell. I mean, some of us around here are trying to get to 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'm just saying. Help us out, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I'm just going to be honest with you. This game terrifies me. Pause for effect there. Okay, so first road game of the season. I shouldn't say terrifies, but it makes me very, very nervous. This is about matchups. Sometimes the better football team doesn't always win. Sometimes the more talented team, the better coach team. It's about individual matchups and things that can happen within a football game that have a greater impact on the outcome of specific football games sometimes than otherwise might have normally happened. I put this out on social media on Monday. Maryland, number one team in the Big Ten. When it comes to sacks, they have 19 so far this year. They're also top 5 in the country. Now, they have 9 sacks in their 2 Big Ten games this season alone. 6 versus Wisconsin when they curb stopped the Badgers. A week ago, only 3 versus Washington. They actually led that game 20-0, you may know this, and ended up losing 24-20. So they feel like they're right there. They're right on the cusp of doing some things. Possibly like Nebraska fans, their only loss this year is by 3 points. Now, it could be pointed out, they pretty much played nobody in their non-con. We played Cincinnati, and at least they were a Power 4 team before we played them. Looks like they're pretty freaking good. All right, Matt Rhule did say this is one of the best defensive lines around as well. When you compare just looking at the sacks specifically, Nebraska has allowed 12 sacks in just our last 2 games alone. All right, our defense has 10 total sacks on the season so far this year. All right, do I believe we're the better team? Yeah, I do. Do I believe we have the more experienced, tenured coaching staff and should have the experience there? Yes, I do. Do we have the talent advantage? Yes, we do. All right, sometimes certain matchups in a game can cause issues, real issues. I'm going back a ways. I've talked about this sporadically over the years on this fine program and other shows that I do as well. The Giants beat the Patriots twice, 2011 and 2007. Both those years, the Patriots had already beaten the Giants. The Patriots had a better record. The Patriots were heavily favored. The Giants' front 4 was all over Tom Brady all day long. They didn't have to blitz. And Eli Manning is 2-0 in Super Bowls versus Tom Brady because of that. Now, to be clear, this is not the NFL. This is not the Super Bowl. I'm well aware of all those things. But the winner of this game, whoever wins, will be 5-1. Do you realize we have like a 10% chance of making the college football playoff, but do you realize I saw a graphic where we have a 100% chance, nothing's ever 100%, but according to this graphic, we have a 100% chance of making a bowl game. So let's assume that we do go to a bowl game. I feel like we should be able to assume that. All we have to do the rest of the season, if you add an extra game on, called the bowl game, all we have to do is go 500 the rest of the year to win 8 games. I know, bar's pretty low, huh? That would still be the most amount of wins we've had since 2016. Tired of talking about that year. All right. We're favored in every single game in October. Already mentioned that in previous shows. Let's say we don't win them all. We don't go 7-1, or we aren't 7-1 at the end of October. Let's say we get upset. We go 3-1 in October. We're 6-2 at the end of the year. All we'd have to do at that point is go 500 in November and be 8-4 before the bowl game with a possible 9th win on the line in that bowl game. By the way, I predicted us to win 9 games. My point, let's take it one game at a time. I'm not a player. I'm not a coach. I can afford to do what I just did. All right. But bringing it back to reality, let's take it one game at a time. My point is there's a lot of ball left to play, and there's a lot left to play for. Let's look at Maryland versus Nebraska. Kickoff between the Huskers and Terrapins is set for 2:30 p.m. Central Time. It's listed 3:30 Eastern. Hey, I'm going to be here watching it in good old Nebraska. It will be televised on the Big Ten Network, and the contest can also be heard on the Huskers radio network, Huskers.com, and the Huskers app. Now, Maryland also comes into this contest, as I already mentioned, 4-1 and 1-1 the Big Ten play, just like Nebraska. Nebraska is +6. We're going to talk more about this as the show goes along. +6 in the turnover margin through 5 games, including +2 in the turnover margin in their 38-27 win over Michigan State. The Huskers +1.2 turnover margin per game ranks 8th nationally. Now we're getting deep into the statistical analysis with that one. Junior running back Emmett Johnson has 8 touchdowns in 5 games this season, including a career-high 3 rushing touchdowns against Michigan State and 3 total touchdowns against Akron as well. Johnson ranks 8th nationally with his 8 touchdowns. Nebraska has a 264-yard advantage. Peep this, ladies and gentlemen, a 264-yard advantage in punt returns through 5 games. The Huskers have 263 punt return yards and rank 13th nationally by averaging 16.4 yards per return. Husker opponents have minus 1 punt return yards on just 1 punt return attempt on the season. Nebraska had a 109-yard edge in punt returns in last week's win over Michigan State. Ladies and gentlemen, we're good at special teams. Booyah. All right. Saturday's game is the 4th all-time meeting between the Turtles and the Huskers, and they're all since the Turtles joined the Big Ten Conference just before the 2014 season. Nebraska holds a 2-1 edge in the series, including a 54-7 victory at Maryland in 2019. The 47-point margin is Nebraska's 2nd largest in Big Ten Conference game history and the largest in a conference road game since joining the league. The 54 points are also Nebraska's most in a Big Ten road game. Maryland, unfortunately, picked up its first win in the series in the most recent meeting in Lincoln a couple of years ago, recording a 13-10 victory. Man, I hate that score, just in general. 13-10 victory at Memorial Stadium in 2023. The Turtles kicked a field goal in the game's final play to provide the winning margin. Technically, they're Terrapins. I don't want to confuse the little kids out there. All right, Saturday's game at Maryland will mark the Huskers' first true road game of the season and the first game away from Lincoln in 44 days. Arrowhead was 44 days ago. Nebraska is the last Big Ten team to play a true road game of the 2025 season. The October 11th date for Nebraska's first game in an opposing stadium is its latest since playing its first true road game of 2013 at Purdue on October 12th. Now, the Huskers lead the nation in pass yards allowed per game, great pass defense, and 91.8 yards allowed per contest, pacing nearly 27 yards ahead of Oklahoma, which is second at 118.4 yards per game. Nebraska also leads the nation in pass efficiency defense with an 80.55 rating. Before we dive more into some of the statistical analysis, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Shout out to DPS Concrete Construction. I said it before, I'll say it again. It is the truth. Nobody does it better when it comes to concrete and retaining wall work. Go to DPSconstruction.net. If this is the type of work you want done, this is the company you want to do it for you. If this is the type of work you do, Jason Armstrong is the type of guy and individual you want to work for. Go to dpsconstruction.net if you want this work done. If this is the type of work you do, ask for Jason Armstrong. Tell him that Adam sent you. Also, Husker Auto Group. Husker, Chevrolet, and GMC have aggressive pricing on 2025 model Silverados and Sierras up to $11,000 off of MSRP. APR as low as 2.9% financing with approved credit. See dealer for details. Husker Chevrolet and GMC also has a great selection of 3/4-ton Silverado and Sierra trucks. Husker Chevrolet and GMC is locally owned and operated. Husker Auto Group is conveniently located off North 27th Street and I-80 in North Lincoln. Also available 24/7 at HuskerAutoGroup.com. Ladies and gentlemen, that is HuskerAutoGroup.com. Final thoughts on our pass defense before we move on. Huskers opponents are completing 50% of their passes, a rate that is second nationally. And just a reminder, they held our first 3 opponents of the year under 100 yards passing. That had not happened here at Nebraska in 35 years since 1990 that we held 3 straight opponents under 100 yards passing. All right, Nebraska did not allow a pass play of 20 yards or more this season until Michigan State completed a 24-yard pass in the game's final minutes against the Huskers' second unit. Every FBS team has allowed at least 5 passes of 20 yards or more this season. The Huskers have only allowed that one. Nebraska offensively is second in the nation in completion percentage, completing 76.1% of their passes, trailing only top-ranked Ohio State's 79.4% of completion percentage. Nebraska's school season completion percentage record is 68.3, set back in 2008. I feel like we might have a chance of breaking that. The passing attack has been balanced. 5 players have at least 16 receptions as well. All right. 10 different players have a catch of at least 20 yards this season. This is a balanced passing attack. Sophomore Ja'Cory Barney leads Nebraska in receptions with 23 and receiving yards with 348 and is tied for the team lead in receiving touchdowns with 3. Barney has a pair of 100-yard games with 7 catches for 132 yards against Akron and 6 receptions for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns against Michigan. Barney has multiple receptions in 17 consecutive games. Other guys we should talk talk about Dane Key has 16 catches for 126 yards. And Isaiah Hunter has 17 catches for 290 yards and an average of 17.1 yards per reception. Again, Emmett Johnson ranks 15th nationally and 3rd in the Big Ten with 94.8 yards rushing per game and 17th nationally in yards from scrimmage at 116.8 yards per game. You may remember Emmett took over the lead back role in the final 4 games last season when Dana Holgorsen took over as the OC. Over the last 9 games, going back to last year, Johnson has averaged 118.7 yards from scrimmage per game, including 87.5 yards rushing and 31.2 receiving yards per game. I want to note also the special teams again. Through 5 games, Nebraska has 16 punt returns for 263 yards and ranks 13th nationally, averaging 16.4 yards per punt return. Just mentioning that again. Ja'Cory Barney had 4 punt returns for 81 yards against Michigan State, including a career-long 57-yard return. He now has 192 punt return yards this season, the highest total by a single Husker since DeMornay Pearson-L had 596 punt return yards on 34 returns in 2014, 11 years ago. Barney is the first Husker to top 100 punt return yards in a season since 2019. Nebraska has also blocked 3 kicks through 5 games. Defensive back Jameer Khan has blocked a pair of punts, including a blocked punt against Michigan State. Riley Van Poppel also blocked a field goal attempt against Akron. Place kicker Kyle Cunanan is 7 of 8 on field goals this year so far and has a career and season long of 52-yarder. Freshman punter Archie Wilson has downed 5 of his 12 punts inside the opponent's 20-yard line. That's phenomenal, by the way. All right. And he averaged a season best 49.2 yards on 4 punts against Michigan just a couple of weeks ago. When it comes to penalties, Nebraska's being flagged for 4.4 penalties per game to rank 15th in the top 15 in the country when it comes to fewest penalty yards per game. Knock on wood that does not change. Nebraska's 39.2 yards per game and penalty yardage is 21st in the country as well. Now, this season, Nebraska is +6. Again, we'll talk about this more in turnover margin through 5 games and ranks 8th nationally in that category. Nebraska has committed just 3 turnovers in 5 games. Nebraska has not had a positive turnover margin for a season since 2016. All right, let's talk about the Turtles a little bit more. All due respect, Maryland is 4-1 on the season with victories against Florida Atlantic, Northern Illinois, Towson, and Wisconsin before last Saturday's close defeat to the Washington Huskies. The Terrapins enter are averaging 350 yards per game offensively with 256 yards per game through the air and 94 yards per game on the ground. True freshman, keep your eye out for this dude. This is a dude. Keep an eye out for Malik Washington. True freshman has completed 110 of 183 passes for 1,257 yards, 9 TDs, and 2 interceptions. He can make plays with his legs, by the way, as well. Defensively, the Terrapins are allowing 13.4 points per game and 318.4 yards per game this season. Let's look at things more specifically. When it comes to rushing offense, they are not good. They are dead last in the Big Ten, 128th in the country when it comes to rushing yards per game, 93.2. Their quarterback running is the thing that makes me nervous about their rushing offense. Our rushing offense, 101st in the country, average 129 yards per game. Passing offense, we are 2nd in the country. By the way, their pass defense is 13th in the Big Ten, 71st in the country. That is something we're going to have to take advantage of because their rush defense is top 25 in the country, 24th to be specific in America, only giving up 96.8 yards per game on the ground. Now, when you go to total offense, 5th in the Big Ten, 30th in the country. They're 14th in the Big Ten, 97th in the country. Again, we've got some definite advantages. And our pass defense, as we know, is number 1 in the country. When it comes to third down offense, they're dead last in the Big Ten. They're 101st in the country. When it comes to third down defense, we're 2nd in the Big Ten and 4th in the country at getting teams off the field. Now, when it comes to red zone offense, we are 2nd to last in the Big Ten, and they are 3rd in the entire country when it comes to red zone defense. Punt return defense, we're 1st in the Big Ten, 3rd in the country. Turnovers gained, they are 1st in the Big Ten, and they are 1st in the country when it comes to turnover margin. And when it comes to turnovers gained, we're 3rd in the Big Ten and 2nd in the Big Ten when it comes to turnover margin. Let me repeat, after going through all of that, roster versus roster, we should have the advantage. Coaching staff experience versus coaching staff experience, we should have the advantage. This is a game about matchups. It's our first road game. We're going halfway across the country. We're going to leave on Thursday instead of Friday because it's such a long trip. It's only one time zone, but it's halfway across the country. There were NFL games playing in St. Louis when we'd go to San Francisco and we'd go all the way up to frickin' Seattle, and that was 2 time zones worth of difference. We'd go out on Friday with the games on Sunday as opposed to leaving on Saturday like normal. I've never been so bored in my life, having a whole day to walk around, be in the hotel, 1,000 more meetings, but it does help you with a little bit longer travel, especially being our first road game of the year. How are they going to respond to playing on the road? This Maryland team, frankly, was one of the worst teams in the Big Ten last year. They were ravaged by the transfer portal in the offseason, yet here we are. They have a dynamic true freshman quarterback, and they're sitting here 4-1, just like us. Now, before I give my keys to the game and my final prediction, I want to give a shout out to a couple more of our sponsors, good partners for this show, and I've also got a bunch of what I think you'll find interesting tidbits I'm going to share as well. Now, 66 Auto Service in Lincoln, you can check them out at 66autoservice.com. They're located at 2405 P Street, again in Lincoln, Nebraska, locally owned for 20 years. That's 2 decades, ladies and gentlemen. If you go in, when you go in, ask for Dean Phelps. He's the owner. He's a good dude. They do a great job. Or ask for Eric or Jeff. Tell them that Adam sent you. Again, they do great work at a very reasonable price. As you know, we now have kids who are driving, and it's where my family, my kids, and myself all take our vehicles to be taken care of. Everything from oil changes to engine replacements. They offer shuttle rides, loader vehicles, and financing as well if necessary. Again, that's 66 Auto Service in Lincoln. Check them out at 66autoservice.com. Also, shout out to Allen Capital Group. Check them out at allencapgroup.com. If you are searching for a financial planner who is rooted in Nebraska values, Allen Capital Group is a homegrown Nebraska business with offices in Scottsbluff, Grand Island, Ogallala, and Omaha. They will work to understand what is meaningful to your financial needs, wants, and wishes. As you know, they personally help me and my family navigate our finances for over a decade. They know what they're doing. They have content of character, and they genuinely care about their clients. They do a great job. Check them out at allencapgroup.com. That's ALLENCAP group.com for more information. Allen Capital Group, next level solutions for next level needs. All right, let's get through some of this stuff. Rhule says the narrative the Huskers can't run the ball is silly because Emmett Johnson is 3rd in the Big Ten in rushing. He also did mention the second quarter versus Michigan State was horrific and unlike anything he's ever seen. Now, Emmett, you go back and look at the game. He averaged over 6 yards per carry. So when I heard this, because I talked about the rushing stats, when I was talking about the offensive line and going through the Michigan State game, I had a couple of thoughts on this. Number one, we factor in sacks when we're factoring in the rushing stats. So there's a whole lot, like when you're sacked 5 times or 7 times, there's a whole lot of minuses that are coming in from the quarterback being sacked that are being subtracted from the total of your rushing total from a game. But also, let's say on first down, you run the ball for 6 yards, 2nd and 4. Let's say on second down, I'm not even going to say you're sacked for a 6 or 7 yard loss. Let's just say you're sacked for a 5-yard loss. You're still 3rd and 9. And you never actually put the ball in the air. So that does have to be factored in, especially when I talked about our rush defense playing better versus Michigan State, which they did. Okay, we gave up 86 yards rushing to Michigan State. You know what was also factored into that? The 4 sacks we had against them. All right, so when I talk about our 88 yards rushing, it all goes hand in hand, and everybody has to deal with the same way of looking at the same things. The other thing is, are we comparing how one guy's rushing the ball or how the whole team rushes the ball? Emmett's a really good running back. He's really good with the ball in his hands, catching, running. Don't argue with any of that. When you look at the team as a whole, that's how I evaluate teams' rushing attacks, to be honest with you. Now, Isaiah Mosey, he seems to be the number 2 running back going forward. We will see how that all unfolds. I will say this, Dylan Raiola was pressured on 80% of his drop back passes last week, so obviously we've got to improve on that going forward. This is a really cool screenshot from Big Ten football from team running out for the tunnel walk during the Michigan State game last week. Williams Waneri is a black shirt. I want to shout out him. He has earned that, by the way. Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week, Deshaun Singleton, has balled out. 5 tackles, 2 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, and I think he's been our best defensive player so far this year as well. This was an interesting tweet from Mitch Sherman. How weird is it? The last time Nebraska won a home game while allowing more than 25 points like we did against Michigan State last Saturday was in 2018 against Illinois. I'm just going to throw this out there. Cincinnati is, I've been saying it, they're better than people realize. Their quarterback is now one of the top 10 Heisman contenders in the country. And they have almost double as many votes from the AP poll as we do. I don't think we should be ranked. We beat Maryland, we'll be ranked. But why do they have more than twice as many votes as we do? That's janky. I'm sorry. And in the vein of just keeping things in perspective, there's only 9 Big Ten teams with 1 loss or less Maryland's one of them, and we're one of them. So keep that in mind going forward. And when you think about just how wacky the Big Ten is, Penn State lost to UCLA today. Maryland blew a 20-point lead. Nebraska's 4-1. Again, let's enjoy where we're at. Hopefully we get a win on Saturday versus Maryland. The most active players in the NFL. You look where Nebraska is on this list. We have 24 active players in the NFL. I've actually watched some of this. Greg Olson and Luke Kuechly coaching middle school football. Quite entertaining. They were up 44-0, got a penalty late in the fourth, and they weren't very happy with their kids. High expectations. This is insane. Purdue has never won a football game that followed a Taylor Swift album release. So many jokes just sitting right there. All right. The preseason poll is a joke. The AP poll is a joke. Preseason number 1 and number 2 are now unranked. You look at the preseason top 10, 3 of the top 5 teams are no longer ranked when you factor in Clemson as well. Hey, James Franklin is playing chess, not checkers. James Franklin was so sick of us saying he can't win the big games, he decided not to win the small ones either. He's a good football coach. I almost feel sorry for Penn State, not Texas. All right, you look at UCLA, you never know what's going to happen. You've got Rick Neuheisel's kid, who is an interim offensive coordinator, not even the interim head coach, didn't even know how to wear the headset. And what happens? Within a couple of days of being their OC, they hang 42 points on the highest paid defensive coach in the country. I'm not trying to take jabs at anybody. College football is insane and I love it. Although I will point out, there's a lot of football players in this picture. So what is there, like 10 people that rushed the field after UCLA beat Penn State? And a lot of this was going to go in my Sunday night show, but I didn't want it to get too lengthy. All right, for the first time since 1985, an 0-4 team will beat a top 10 opponent. UCLA stunned Penn State, as we know. Let's go to the next graphic. These are all the teams, by the way, Power 4 teams that have yet to beat another Power 4 team. I almost feel sorry for Penn State, but not Colorado and Texas at all. All right, this was great. Penn State's loss to UCLA just goes to show how deep the Big Ten is this year. Every Saturday is a bloodbath. Hey, SEC fans, am I doing this right? Now, this is the prediction show for this upcoming Saturday. Oh, what a slate of games. Indiana, Oregon. Indiana and Oregon playing each other. So much about that in the high-ranking college football matchup. Just doesn't make any sense, but it's awesome. If you liked my previous joke a second ago, maybe you'll like these, maybe you won't. Don't be mad at lazy people. They didn't do anything. Every morning I announce to my family that I'm going jogging, but then I don't go. It's a running joke. All right, back to the analysis of the game just a little bit. Now, I should mention, Maryland doesn't tend to blitz a ton. And I am curious to see what we do on first downs as well when it comes to play calls, how we approach it, because our first down plays last game, 11 of those 18 plays, we passed the ball. There were 3 sacks, an interception. We did have a screen play in there. We ran the ball 39% of the time on first downs. Average yards per carry on first down when we did run it of 6.5 yards per carry. So I'm curious to see what we do on first down on Saturday. Keys to the game. Now, I will say this. It's okay to be optimistic. Even though I'm nervous about this game, Matt Rhule said it's okay to be positive, and I'm with him. All right, let's have some fun. My 6 keys to the game. I don't just have 3 keys, 2 keys, 4 keys. Every week is different because every game is different. I've never had this many keys to a game before because I've never looked at a game and said there's this many particular matchups within a game that could have a huge impact on the outcome. Number 1 and number 2, protect Dylan Raiola. And yes, those do count as 2 of the keys. Protecting Dylan Raiola is number 1 and number 2. Number 3, our Redzone Offense. Again, we're second to last in the Big Ten when it comes to Redzone Offense efficiency. Their Red Zone defense is 3rd best in the country. Third downs, they're dead last on third down conversion rate on offense. And offensive efficiency in the Big Ten. Our third down defense is the 2nd best in the Big Ten when it comes to getting opponents off the field on third down. 5 turnovers. Turnovers are going to be huge. It's the number 1 team in the Big Ten in turnover margin versus the number 2 team in the Big Ten in turnover margin. Maryland's 1, we're number 2. And last but certainly not least, they don't run the ball well, but their quarterback runs well. Can we contain him on broken plays and design quarterback runs? Now, 6 keys. That's a lot, Adam. Can we just win 4 of them? If we win 4 of these 6 keys, I believe that we win. Can we avoid 2nd and 3rd and longs? Can we capitalize in the red zone when we get opportunities to score? Can we get them off the field on third downs? And can we avoid turnovers and not give them a short field? The over-under on this game is 47.5. My prediction, other guys, 21. Good Good Guys 28. All right, here's my questions for you fine folks at home. Brought to you by Husker Auto Group. Check them out at huskerautogroup.com. Also, follow me on the social medias if you're so inclined. X, TikTok, and the Book of Face, Facebook. Here are my questions. Let me know your answer in the comments below. Number one, what's your single biggest key? If you want to give me 6, that's cool. What's your single biggest key to Nebraska winning this game? Number 2, what's your score prediction? And number 3, are we better at running the football on our offensively than people think? Go Big Red Nose. Remember to throw the ball.